Chapter 11 The Odd Couple. While waiting to be called up for his first fight, Mo Gun decided to go through the tournament's rules in his head. They were actually quite straightforward, consisting of single elimination matches where the winner advances and the loser leaves the contest. Fairness was ensured by banning the intake of any elixirs or potions that could artificially enhance a competitor's performance, and limiting magical items to just 3 per person. In addition, enchanted items had to be declared beforehand, with any changes or substitutions being forbidden. Overseeing all of this were the Void Monks, one of the Empire's 3 major holy orders, who were renowned for their fairness and impartiality. Finally, Mo Gun's name was called, and rising to his feet from his sitting position on a mat, he stepped into the roped-off square that served as his arena. Already waiting, there was the referee, a Void Monk dressed in a simple grey robe, with his bald head gleaming in the sunlight. Taking his attention away from the monk, Mo Gun instead focused on his opponent on the opposite side of the arena. The first thing about the man that stood out for Mo Gun was how young he was. Looking to be no more than 15 or 16, the man/boy stood like a startled rabbit, his left hand twitching nervously as he clutched at his sheathed sword. Mo Gun felt a pang of sympathy for his opponent, but immediately crushed the impulse. Despite his young age, Mo Gun had seen his share of men and women who had dismissed a seemingly harmless face, only to later fall foul of the same innocent visage, and he was determined not to make the same mistake himself. Taking a moment to reorientate his mind, Mo Gun readied himself for battle.
"Begin!"
called out the Void Monk, and the nervous young man immediately drew his blade before taking up a tight guard with still trembling fingers. If the man was acting, then he was definitely selling the act. With a battle cry that reminded Mo Gun of a tiger cub trying to imitate its parent's roar, the man charged, stepping to the side and drawing his sword in the same fluid motion. Mo Gun brought the bronze blade down in a dazzling arc. Just as the bronze sword was about to bite into Mo Gun's opponent's wrist, the tournament talisman tied around the man's neck glowed brightly, and the blade was stopped just before it could slice into flesh. Mo Gun's opponent screamed as his sword fell from his suddenly numbed fingers, and he scrambled backwards, only to stop suddenly as the tip of Mo Gun's sword came to rest on his throat.
"Stop!"
commanded the Void Monk, and Mo Gun took a step back, but kept the tip of his sword pointed at his opponent's neck.
"Winner, Mo Gun of the Bleeding Sword Academy!"
declared the Void Monk, signaling the end of the fight. Sheathing his blade, Mo Gun saluted his opponent. The talisman around the man's neck stopped glowing, and the feeling returned to his magically numbed hand, allowing him to return the gesture. Thus, having won his designated daily match, Mo Gun decided he would treat himself to an early lunch. Yet just as he stepped over the arena's ropes, an unfamiliar voice called out to him.
"Precise and efficient. Most impressive."
Turning in the direction of the speaker, Mo Gun saw a man leaning against a wall and looking directly at him. The stranger was about the same age as Mo Gun, and was dressed in dark, utilitarian clothes that were clean, if unadorned. His gaze was impressive, and held an intensity that reminded Mo Gun of a predator eyeing up a potential rival. Mo Gun was about to offer a greeting when someone stepped up from behind the dark-clad stranger and slapped the back of his head.
"Cut that out, you brooding bastard. You are impressing no one."
The new arrival, another young man, also about the same age as Mo Gun, was dressed in an elegant white silk robe, trimmed with golden thread and tailored to show off his tall, lean figure. Holding himself with the grace of a distinguished gentleman, Mo Gun might have taken him for a scholar, if not for the steel he could see lurking behind the man's seemingly friendly gaze. Ignoring the look of annoyance his dark-clad companion was giving him, the man in white saluted Mo Gun.
Greetings, my friend. My name is Han Xin, family name Chiang, and my moody companion here is Chang Ren.
Mo Gun lifted an eyebrow in surprise. So Han Xin belonged to the named class, while Chang Ren, like Mo Gun himself, came from the nameless peasantry. And yet the two of them were friends, and close friends at that, judging from how casually they behaved around each other. It made Mo Gun happy to have found another member of the named class, besides Chu Chen, who did not lord their supposed superiority over others. Returning the gesture, Mo Gun made his own greetings.
My greetings, Chang Hing and Cheng Ren Hing. I am Mo Gun of the Bleeding Sword Academy.
Mo Gun had decided to address them as Hing, a honorific used amongst male peers that gave a slightly higher position to the one being addressed.
Glad to make your acquaintance, Mo Gun Hing. Me and Cheng Ren had finished our matches for today, and were on our way for some food when we came across your match, and had the good fortune to witness your superb display. Perhaps you would do us the pleasure of joining us for a meal?
Mo Gun was tempted to decline, as they were strangers after all, and he wasn't the kind of person to let his guard down easily. However, after thinking it over for a moment, he decided to accept, for he really had little for them to exploit, save for perhaps a free meal, and that would be a small enough price to pay for spending time with such interesting people.